my way. What can I do to make this dream come true? 'Cause if you just knew that I really, really love you, and if you could see my view, we could be together whole life through. 'Cause you got my head in the clouds, I just wanna fly high, this running mind of mine, baby. If you see the smooth dance floor, and I just wanna dance through the night, this running mind of mine, I see you look my way. Get up and walk like there's nothing to see.
Folks, we are back. It's the MSAHA Basketball Weekly Show. I'm your host, Trellis Williams. We got a lot to talk about this week. So far, the counselors are rolling. We saw some good stuff from them. And now the Jackson Victors also starting to rise back up to the top, re-emerging as a big contender here in this league. They are 5-1 in conference. We're going to talk about them as well. Also be joined by their head coach, Coach Gerald Cornelius of the Jackson Victors. PCA and Hattiesburg still looking pretty good, very competitive there. And on the girls' side, it looks like we're going to be seeing a clash of Muddy River and Laurel come next month. But we got a real good show for you tonight. I'm Trellis Williams. The MSAHA Basketball Weekly Show begins right now. And we appreciate you joining us here for the show. I'm your host, Trellis Williams. This past week, we had a lot of games, a ton of games on the list that we're going to go through here today. But before I get started, I want to remind you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Hit the subscribe button to the TSJW Network YouTube channel. Also, like and share with anyone else who would be interested in MSAHA basketball coverage. We're still very early in the season, mid-November. We've seen some stuff, so we kind of can see where the teams are a little bit, but there's a lot more basketball to be played. You better believe it. But we want you to go ahead and like and share as well as hit that subscribe button. Also, we will talk about the league standings and all of that as well. Check out the website, tsjwnetwork.net. That's where all the scores, standings, and schedules reside for MSAHA basketball. So, we're going to go ahead and get started getting into ball games from this past week, and we're going to start off with what we saw on Thursday in Raymond, the Muddy River Counselors hosting the Macomb Gators. And starting off with a little bit of girls action, we saw the Counselors get the win. Counselors girls win 58-21 over the Macomb Lady Gators. Now, the Counselors, they have been looking good so far this year. They're looking like a team that is trying to contend for a championship. They beat Macomb handedly there at home, 58-21. Macomb was coming off of a nice win over Meridian last week, and you can see the improvement. That program is definitely growing and getting better, but the Counselors look good. Starting off the game, kind of had a little bit of a slow start, but they got it churning, and they get the win 58-21. Now, on the boys' side, we see the Counselors get the win over the Macomb Gators 70-49. Now, going into this ball game, the Counselors were coming off of a loss to Crystal Springs in non-conference play. Crystal Springs High School is a very good team, very good competition to be competing with here in the season, very early in the year. Now, the thing is, though, is they go and take on a Macomb team that's been very competitive to begin with. They've got a guy in Sean Davis who's a very, very good defender. I mean, very tall, very long, and quick. So he can defend well. And the Counselors were able to win this ball game after the first quarter. Macomb led 19-14 at the end of the first quarter, but the Counselors were able to get it going. They did well, defending very well for the rest of the game, got the offense moving. They win the ball game 70-49, which is big for this Counselors team. After losing to Crystal Springs, they wanted to regroup and have a good go, and they were able to get that with the 70-49 win over the Macomb Gators. But the Gators are still a very solid team here in this league. Then we see Macomb get right back after it. We see that on Saturday as they host the Scott County Flames. And we see a girls score that was very surprising, for me at least. We see Macomb win over Scott County. They win 59-28 in girls. And here's the thing. I'm not surprised that Macomb got the win because they had beat Meridian already to get their first conference win ever in the MSAHA. But they win by 31 points and put up 59 points. So this is where you see the work that's been put in. You see the work that Coach Baggett, Bobby Baggett of the Macomb Lady Gators has been, the work that he's been putting in. We see a 31-point victory. We see 59 points on the board. Very impressive for the Gators, getting a big home win over Scott County. Now Scott County's still in the position where they have not yet to win a conference game this year as they fall to 0-5 in conference. Them and the Meridian Flyers are two teams that have not won. We're going to see some more. We're going to see some Meridian action from this week that we will talk about in a little bit as well. Then on the boys' side with Macomb and Scott County, the Macomb Gators get a good win over Scott County, 56-12. They win by 44 points. They handle their business against the Scott County Flames. Gators have Scott County in the size department by a good bit, as they have one of the tallest guys, if not the tallest player in our league. So that's Macomb and Scott County. And then we get our game of the week that we talked about going into this week, and a game that has been the championship game the last 2 seasons, or the last 3 seasons. But we see the PCA Paladins go on to take on the Muddy River Counselors at Hines B. Hall in Raymond, Mississippi. And the Counselors best the PCA Paladins 66-53. They get a big home win over the Paladins there. PCA, the Counselors started off very nicely against PCA. They went up 16-4 to begin, but PCA fights their way back into the ball game behind a very good shooting from Brandon Solomon. We've seen a lot of improvement from him. He's done a lot of good things in that ball game. There's a lot of foul trouble in that game for both teams. PCA had 3 guys foul out. Muddy River Counselors had 2 guys foul out and 2 guys with 4 fouls. So you're talking about a game where both teams were in the bonus in the ball game, but we see the Counselors come away victorious, led by a big effort by Michael Williams, finishing with 40 points on the ball game, and the Counselors get the win, a huge win, and a big confidence-building win for the Counselors as well. Again, we talk about them coming off the ball game against Crystal Springs. They want to regroup. They had a very close win against Meridian, so at that point in time, it looks like, wow, the Counselors are very vulnerable. These teams are ready to get going against them. PCA did not look that vulnerable going into this game. They had blowout win after blowout win, and then the Counselors get a big win here. 66-53. It was 43-42 going into the fourth, and the Counselors best them in that fourth quarter by a good bit, getting a 13-point win. This puts the Counselors in the driver's seat in the league. Now we got Hattiesburg and Muddy River, which we saw, and we're going to talk about the boys in just a second. But on the girls' side, this was another big one. Both teams undefeated in conference going into this game. We see how the league is right now. We see there's a big difference between the top 3 teams and the bottom 3 teams. We see Macomb is emerging as that number 4 spot. They're looking pretty good at that number 4 spot. They have 2 conference wins already. But we saw the Counselors, we saw the Forerunners get wins by big margins over Macomb and Laurel as well, and Laurel's the defending champions. But we see that Laurel, Muddy River, and Hattiesburg seem to be those top 3 teams at the moment. But neither Hattiesburg nor Muddy River have played Laurel as of yet. They play each other. Hattiesburg and Muddy River do, and the Counselors pull out the win by 19 points. 58-39, a big win for the Muddy River Counselors girls, and a 19-point win. It was 9-6 at the end of the first quarter. The Counselors able to get it rolling. This is against a good Hattiesburg team that continues to get better. But the Counselors best them on this night. Counselors were hosting the ball game. They get the win by 19 points. This puts the Counselors in a very good position here in the league. And we'll look at the standings in just a little bit. But the Counselors now 4-0 in conference. And so it's Muddy River and Laurel as the only two undefeated in conference teams in this league. Hattiesburg picks up their first conference loss. Then we see on the boys' side. This is the game that we were just talking about, kind of previewing a little bit. Muddy River and Hattiesburg. Counselors were just coming off that win over PCA. Hattiesburg's last conference game was against Meridian, in which they beat them by 21 on Meridian's home floor. The Forerunners were looking good. They were undefeated in conference going into this game as well. They were coming in, and they came in with the strap, folks. I mean, they were leading 14-4. At the beginning of the ball game. Wow. And we saw Keller Russell as well as Tafari Edwards shooting the basketball so well. And they hit 4 threes between the two of them. Started off 4 for 4 from the outside. And they take a 14-4 lead. And at that point in time, you're thinking, oh, wow. Counselors may have met their match in terms of a team that could come onto their home court and beat them just shooting that well. But then the Counselors come right back at it, and by the end of the first quarter, the Counselors lead 21-18 behind 18 first quarter points from Michael Williams. And this game ended up being a career night for Williams. He finishes with 50. 50 points on the night against the Hattiesburg Forerunners. What a performance from Michael Williams. But here's the thing. The Counselors end up going up by over 30 points, and they get to running clock here. Now, here's the thing. 83-65 win is what it ends up being, as Hattiesburg was able to pull it in closer there in the fourth. But here's the thing that we have to acknowledge is that 50 points from Michael Williams. I mean, Williams right now is averaging around 33, so he's been scoring a lot of points on the season. He's been scoring on a consistent basis, but 50 is something else, and Hattiesburg had to take that from him. And so I'm not going to even come anywhere close to counting Hattiesburg out because that was a big night for the Counselors. It's a big night for Michael Williams. So Hattiesburg, listen, the way they started that game off shooting, if they're shooting well and the Counselors aren't, this could be a different story. So we're definitely going to keep our eye on Hattiesburg. This is a big night for the Counselors, and they're able to win by a lot of points. But Hattiesburg is definitely a scary team, and any team that can shoot that well is a very scary team. We still saw in the ball game, Keller Russell finished with 21 points. He did his job. That's about it. He's averaging 22 a game. Russell's been having a big year. I don't know if we've talked about that yet. We have talked about Keller Russell, but a big game. He's had a big season thus far, and he was able to keep up with that pace with 21 points on the night. But the Counselors showed some really good defensive effort as well, and they get the win 83-65 over the Hattiesburg Forerunners. So that kind of leaves the Counselors at a point where they're in the driver's seat. 5-0 in conference. They're the number one team in the league right now. They're the defending two-time back-to-back champions. And so they're the team to beat. We didn't know who was the team to beat going into the season. We wanted to see how some of these games panned out, and the Counselors have won them all. So they are the number one team at the moment, and we'll see how it goes when they play some of these teams on the road. Of course, they will be hosting Meridian later on in the season. They have not played the Jackson Victors yet, which we'll talk about them in just a little bit. But let's continue on with the scores. Then after that, we see Hattiesburg go the next night, and they head to Harperville to take on Scott County. And their girls win by a lot, 62-24. Hattiesburg bounces back from their loss. They win by nearly 40 points over Scott County. They've got a height advantage with Kaylin Spears on the inside. They also have Emma Cotton, who's a very good player, as well as her sister Ruth Cotton, who's a very good shooter. Hattiesburg is a well-built team. Their girls' team's a very good team, and I expect them to make some noise as well and continue to compete. We saw that against the Counselors. They were competing very well. The Counselors were able to pull away in the ball game, but Hattiesburg's a good team, and they were able to win by nearly 40 points over Scott County. Then we see in the boys' game, Hattiesburg, they go ahead and lay down the hammering on Scott County, 85-18. We saw this just a week ago. Hattiesburg and Scott County took each other on, and the Forerunners won by a lot in that one as well. So the Forerunners get another conference win. They beat Scott County. Then we see Laurel and Meridian take each other on. Now, this one's in Hickory. This is the first time these two teams have played. We see girls. We see the defending champions dominate, 52-9. 52-9, Laurel wins. Not much to say about this one, as the Lady Nighthawks taking care of business. They're the defending champs. They're still undefeated in conference. They have not played Muddy River nor Hattiesburg, so we'll have to see how those games happen as they come along. I don't remember when Hattiesburg and Laurel play their first time, but I know Muddy River and Laurel will play on December 9th in Raymond. And so Laurel's able to get this win 52-9. And then we see on the boys' side, we've got Laurel and Meridian. Meridian winning 54-37. Laurel's just kind of struggled to win basketball games here. Laurel, they have one conference win so far on the year, and it's against Scott County. That's where Laurel stands at the moment. They lose to Meridian by 17 points. Meridian, kind of a low-scoring game for them. Wasn't able to see this game, don't know what it looked like, but the Flyers are a team that they're trying to, they know that they can compete with the top-tier teams in the league. The Counselors are undefeated in conference, and if you ask a Meridian Flyer person, they would say that they should have won that game because they were leading by 9, or they were leading by 7 with a minute left. They were leading by 9 with 3 minutes left. But they lost that game to the Counselors, and the Counselors are in the driver's seat in the league. So you know that Meridian can compete with the top teams in the conference, but they want to get tight. They want to get right, and they're not going to get a very good seed as they've already lost 4 conference games. But at this point in time, what you're trying to do is get that confidence and get tight so that in that tournament you can knock off some teams, and in single elimination anything can happen there in the end of the season tournament. But Meridian gets the win over Laurel 54-37. And then finally, our last game from this last week, and a big game for the Jackson Victors, they get the win over the Macomb Gators at home, 59-40. And this was a game for me, looking at this score, that made me impressed with the Victors again. Because they start off this season, they beat Meridian 62-60 at home. And, I didn't know much about either team other than, that they are bringing a lot of guys from last year. But, I don't know what the team this year was looking like at the moment. But I was able to, see over the course of the season, we see them play PCA. They struggle. They struggle with PCA. And they lose by 23 points in that ball game, 57-34. They couldn't really score on PCA very well. They really struggled in that game. So then at that point, it was like, okay, Jackson, are they a team? Well, but, they didn't have Asa Holden in that game, so that makes a big difference. But then we see they play Laurel, and they barely edge out Laurel. And now we start to be like, okay, are the Victors a top-tier team, or are they kind of a middle-of-the-pack team that can compete a little bit with the top teams? Well, I think them beating Macomb by nearly 20 points can answer that question. I think the Victors are back to being a top-tier team. They're 5-1 in conference now. Their only loss is to PCA, which is not a bad loss at all. It's PCA. And then we see after that game with Jackson, we see PCA lay down the hammering on Meridian. We see them hammer a lot of teams. They beat Laurel by 46 points. So that loss doesn't look as bad anymore. And now they're winning conference games. They're winning basketball games. They only have one conference loss. And so Victors are poised to have their best year in the league since 2021. And so that's impressive. That's impressive that we're seeing from the Jackson Victors. And so right now we're going to go ahead and talk to the man at the helm there with the Victors, and that is Coach Gerald Cornelius. He's the head coach of the Jackson Victors and has been for the rebuild, and so he deserves a lot of credit for what he has been doing. But, Coach, we really appreciate you joining us right here on the MSAHA Basketball Weekly Show.
Man, glad to be on and talk a little basketball with you, Trellis.
Absolutely, Coach. So I want to kind of start from the beginning of the season. So you guys come into the year, and you guys, I think arguably, probably not much of an argument against it, actually. You guys are probably the deepest team in the league because you guys have a lot of good players on your team, a lot of older players, which is always a struggle in the homeschool is you never know if you have enough older players, and you've had that in the past. This year you have a good amount of depth and a lot of good players on your team. Kind of talk about that a little bit, okay? You come into the year with a team like that. What were your thoughts going into this season with this team?
Well, as you said, we have a deep roster. We have a lot of good players on this team this year, and so it's kind of been just trying to see what are the rotations looking like. Kind of starting off a little slow, trying to see who plays well with each other. So I was very impressed with how the guys have been playing, just learning how to play off of each other. We're really focusing in on defense this year and kind of locking in and getting that dog mentality on defense. So I knew that having more players is just going to enhance our defense, definitely. So we were very excited coming into the year. We had a phase program that we put in place in the summer and just trying to get guys to buy into what we're trying to do in the culture of victors now.
100%, and we could see the improvements that have been made year after year. So then you get that win over Meridian, which was a very close game, very good win to get there, 62-60 win. And we've seen the Flyers; they're a very competitive team. They're one of the higher up teams in our league. So that was a very good win, and you guys knew it at the time. You had to, but then you go take on PCA, and you take a lump there. And you're talking about taking on a team that's a very tight team, very good team in PCA. You take a lump there. But ever since then, you guys have been winning basketball games. And not just in conference. We see you guys beat St. Al as well in non-conference. Kind of talk about the rebound from that. Take us through this season so far with that Meridian game, going from that feeling to the PCA feeling to where you guys are now.
Yeah, definitely. That win against Meridian, we felt pretty good about it. We knew we didn't play our best basketball, especially on the defensive side. We kind of let their guard get off. I think he hit us for 30 something. So we knew that defensively we definitely didn't do a good job. But we were glad to get the win. Came back, lost to PCA, and I think that was a good thing for us. Like we really need to have that adversity at the beginning of the season, play a very good, well-coached team in PCA, and kind of see where our weaknesses are. And PCA definitely showed us where the weaknesses were and what we need to focus in practice on getting better. And I'm blessed to have two great assistant coaches that help me out a lot, Kevin Hill and John Piles, and they do an amazing job, which kind of lets me be able to sit back and focus on what I think I'm good at, which is defense. So we've just been trying to cover those holes defensively. And ever since then, we've done a good job. We lost that first game to St. Aloysius by almost 18, came back 3 days later and beat them. And so I was really impressed with the defense we played. Offense is going to come. I'm pretty confident the more the guys get used to playing with each other, get used to the rotations, the offense is going to be there. But we're going to have to beat teams on our defense. And so you'll see, we have low-scoring games. We're not putting up a lot of points, but we're sitting down, playing good defense, learning how to communicate, learning how to talk, learning how to trust one another. And so I think we're starting to roll right now. We just got to stay focused, stay humble, and I think we're going to do some good things moving forward.
Definitely. Now, also, take us through this Macomb game that you guys just played, because I believe that was last night. And as you heard when I was talking about, I was going through the games from this past week, that was a game that was an eye-opener for me, because I saw you guys fall to PCA, but then right after that, we see PCA beat teams, blow them out repeatedly, which that kind of just shows that that's not that bad. That's not a bad loss. First of all, it's PCA. They're always good. They're always good. They always figure it out. But then also, they were playing well at that time as well. And so then you guys beat some teams in the league, but then you play a Macomb team who's been very, very competitive. They've been very competitive in games. And you guys beat them by 20 points, which is an impressive margin to beat a team like that, especially, with the length that they have from Sean Davis on the defensive side of the ball. And then guys who can shoot the ball as well. Take us through that game and what your takeaways were of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, we talked about in practice. We hadn't beat this team in 5 tries, and
Yeah.
Sean Davis' length has really bothered us. So the guys were really able just to come together. They saw the vision that Coach Kevin Hill had on the offensive side, and I think they saw the vision that I had for defense. And we started off a little slow, which was concerning to me, but quickly they picked it up. Played good defense, didn't play scared, which is what I wanted to see, and came out with a good win. So I was glad that the guys really played good basketball, and like I said, got that win that we've been looking for against Macomb for almost 2 years now.
That's a very interesting point, and I now that I think about it, now I remember that. And you guys had a bunch of really close games against them. It's like close game after close game and dropping them. That's a big one. That's a big one, and I know how that is for sure. So looking at your team now, you're 5-1 in conference, which, as I said earlier, you guys are poised to have your best year in the conference since 2021. And so that's good. That's in the new era, since the new era of Jackson Victor, since Coach Jim Fehrenbacher was coaching. So that's an awesome thing for you guys to be poised to do. Where do you see this team at the end of the season?
Honestly, Trellis, I see this team in the conference championship. That's our goal. That's the goal that we set at the beginning of the year. We have 10 seniors. This is their last year. So they want to go out on top. And so I'm preaching every day, hey, guys, if you set this goal, you got to come out here and do it. And so we're getting a lot of great play from the older guys, Andy Miller, Thomas Nicholson, of course, Asa Holden, Nolan Meacham, all my older guys that know in our season what they need to be doing. But we're also getting great play from our younger guys. I mean, Winston Harrington, Ethan McDonald, all these guys are really stepping up, giving us great minutes. And when I'm able to really hone in on these rotations and see, who I need out on the floor at what time, I think we're really going to get rolling. But I think our best days are yet ahead. And we want to be in that conference championship, and that's our goal. We don't have anything else. That's what we're trying to get to.
Yeah, 100%, Coach. And listen, we see what you guys are doing. You guys are doing some good work over there. But, hey, look, having all those seniors, that's definitely obviously the goal. Last question for you, though. You guys are building a good program. You got a very good 14U squad and 16U squad as well. And those young guys, I mean, I see those scores coming back, and I'm like, oh, man, they're not playing. They're not playing, Coach.
Yeah, definitely, man. Hey, those younger guys, man, they got a motor out of this world, man. They've been playing with each other, especially those 14U guys. They've been playing with each other for a while, and, man, they play great basketball. Like, I just like sitting there and watching, and me and the coaches will be looking at each other like, man, did you see that? Like, they're so unselfish. They know each other on and off the court, so they kind of already know where each other are going to be on the court and what they're going to do. And, man, they just play great basketball. So I'm encouraged, man. Those younger guys, everybody stays together and they keep getting better. We're going to have a bright future here at the Victors in a couple of years, man.
For sure. Coach Gerald Cornelius, we appreciate you joining us.
Man, thanks for having me, Trellis.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure to have Coach Cornelius with us here on the MSHA Basketball Weekly Show. And I think that's the third time I've had him on the show, and I always enjoy it. But, folks, we appreciate you joining us. We'll talk, we got Scott County and Laurel that's going to come up next week. We'll talk about that in just a second. But first, I want to remind you about our sponsor for our show, Take One Media. TakeOneMedia.com/TSJW is where you should go. If you are a business owner or an entrepreneur that is starting a business, or if you already have a business, if you want to scale, if you want to get leads, you should go to Take One Media. They are the official marketing agency of the TSJW Network. Go to TakeOneMedia.com/TSJW. TakeOneMedia.com/TSJW. Let them know that we sent you. And so that would be a very good thing for your business. Take One Media is the official marketing agency of the TSJW Network. Again, I want to remind you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like and share the show, the MSAHA Basketball Weekly Show. And we appreciate all of you who join us. It's always fun. It's always fun every single week. I do want to tell you as well, next week is Thanksgiving, but we're still going to be here. We're still bringing you the show because we'll have stuff to talk about. Because we'll have games to come up that will be coming up at that time. But let's go into next week. Next week, all we really have is Scott County and Laurel. Okay, Scott County taking on Laurel. And so, we've kind of already seen this already. Now, I have Scott County at Laurel. I think it may be Laurel at Scott County because I think they've already played at Southeastern Baptist College earlier in the year. So correct me if I'm wrong on that. I do believe it is Laurel at Scott County. So I think I have my graphics wrong. But these two teams, we're talking about girls. I think Laurel will win by a lot. They've been. I mean, it's Laurel. Gotta give them the edge there. Scott County's still looking for their first conference win. I think it'll be interesting when Meridian and Scott County take each other on to see who emerges from that one. Meridian has more players and more size than Scott County has, but Scott County does have a couple players who have some skills and can score a little bit. So that'll be interesting when that game happens, but I think until then, I think Scott County's probably going to struggle to win a conference game, and so I think Laurel will have this one. In the boys, Scott County's still trying to build that team up, still a small team, and Laurel, I think they get back in the win column here and get their second conference win. All right, so now, folks, let's go ahead and take a look at these standings. Looking at the girls' side, we see that Muddy River's at the top, and I think that's the first time ever in Counselors Girls history that you ever saw Muddy River on the top of the standings. 4-0. Of course, Laurel is 3-0. They just haven't played as many games as the Counselors have in conference. But after this week, they'll probably be up there at 4-0 as well, and they'll play each other on December 9th. So we'll see how that happens. That'll be an interesting game to see because Laurel lost Emily Beach from last year. Carmelina Santos is hurt out for this season. So, Laurel lost a couple. The Counselors have gained mostly. And so that'll be interesting to see. And Hattiesburg 4-1 with their one loss being to the Counselors on Monday. Macomb now 2-3. Meridian 0-4. Scott County 0-5 rounding out the girls' standings. Now looking at the boys' standings, okay? We see Muddy River at the top of that one as well. They're 5-0 in conference, which for the Counselors has been big. Other than the Jackson Victors, they have taken on the top-tier teams in the league as they have played Hattiesburg, PCA, and Meridian, as well as Macomb. They have not played Tupelo either, but you see Jackson now 5-1 in conference, which is very impressive. They made a nice run. Hattiesburg 4-1 in conference. Then you got PCA 3-1 in conference. And basically Jackson, Hattiesburg, PCA all have one loss. And PCA is beating Jackson, so really once that shuffled around, PCA would probably be at that number 2 spot. But PCA and Hattiesburg, they don't play till December 22nd, so we're not going to see that matchup for a long while. But I'm pretty sure we'll see PCA and Jackson again, their second matchup, before we see PCA and Hattiesburg, but we'll have to see. Tupelo 2-2, they've been solid. Meridian getting that win over Laurel, they're trying to get back to 500. Macomb 2-4, they've taken some lumps here as of late. Laurel's 1-1, which is against Scott County. They're just kind of behind the 8 ball this year after losing all those players, and then Scott County rounds it out. And so that is the boys' standings there. But, folks, that will conclude what we have to talk about this week. This past week was a big week for the counselors in boys and in girls. But in girls, they get the wins. And boys, big wins in a league, a very competitive boys league. And folks, don't get it mistaken. It's still very competitive. But the counselors take the first swipe. They win the battle. They win the early battle of before Thanksgiving. They're in that number 1 spot. But we'll see at the end of the season who wins the war. But it's an exciting year for the conference, and we'll talk about it more week by week as time goes on. Thank you all for joining us. Nettie Williams over here is my producer. I really appreciate her always, of course. Please be sure to hit the subscribe button. Also, like and share with anyone who'd be interested. I also want to show my appreciation to Coach Gerald Cornelius of the Jackson Victors for coming on to the show. We'll be back next week, Lord willing, with another guest that we hope you are looking forward to hearing from. I'm Trellis Williams, but until next week, this is the MSAHA Basketball Weekly Show. We out.